They right here, y'all. So I don't know what to say. They right here. Both of them.
Look like PP. Bitches fly from DC.
Ernesto Moore, he said gallantly. He took her hand and theatrically kissed it. You must be Mimi. Nice to meet you. He sank and sank and sank into the sofa and patted the small remaining space next to him. Mimi took a seat and Fat E immediately swooped his arm around her. So this is your first record? Yeah, she said. And I'm really excited because I hear everything you touch turns platinum. Believe what you heard. I love your flow, Mimi added. It's bananas. Oh, Fatty swooned, soaking up the compliments. That's right. Just stick with me, baby. Can I see your rap part of the song? Sure, Fatty said. Soon as I write it. He looked up as Ivan strolled back into the room carrying a plastic folder. A wiry, shaggy haired white guy. Ivan considered hip hop a creative and powerful art form, and after working with all the big name hip hop artists, he no longer got a headache from breathing in marijuana fumes. He tossed the folder onto Fatty's lap. Fatty thanked Ivan, then turned to Mimi and said, now that we're all cozy and shiz, let's order. Mimi looked over at the folder. Inside its transparent cover was a white sheet of paper that read menus for Super Fat E. Please do not touch. Ivan had done that. People were always misplacing the menus, and a good selection of varying cuisines that would be delivered in a timely fashion was the only real request Fat E had when he came to the studio. Like the Weather Girls. Remember when them itches had to have a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken in the studio waiting for them? When they got there, after mulling over several types of food, Fat E decided it was a seafood night and had the receptionist put in an order for two since Daryl and Ivan declined to join them for dinner. After close inspection, Mimi decided Ernesto was rather cute. He had smooth, clear skin, the color of wet sand, short, tightly curled brown hair, and a sparse, elegantly sculpted goatee. She hoped he had noticed her recoil slightly at his girth when he entered the room. Hey, Ivan, Fat E said, throw me the pad. Make magic, baby, Ivan said as he tossed Fat E his tools, a fresh yellow legal pad and a number 2 pencil, brand new, just sharpened. Like Copperfield, Fat E replied. His first top 10 hit had been written this way, and ever since he superstitiously followed the same routine to the letter. Within minutes, Fat E was completely lost in his rhyme writing. I think they say that Jay-Z be doing that. His first top 10 hit had been written this way, and ever since he superstitiously followed the same routine to the letter. Within minutes, Fat E was completely lost in his rhyme writing. He was well respected by music critics as a true poet who wove intricate rhymes about the plight of the young urban male. Only God can judge on which he ruminated about growing up as a fat kid from his second album, Food. His Love was considered to be his finest work to date. But like most hip hop artists, he found a way for art and commerce to profitably coexist. He was concerned with selling records, and he knew people, especially the young kids who were his core audience, wanted to party more than they wanted to ponder. Gotta pay bills, he chirped when he came into a studio as a hired gun to guest star on another artist's album. That's what he was doing tonight. Triple Large was releasing the good looking soundtrack, and they were paying the Hits Inc. superstar, his going rate of 150,000 per song to take part. Even if almost no one saw the movie, a soundtrack would sell briskly if it featured hot songs from a variety of well known rappers, and Fat Ed was the biggest in every sense. An hour later, the receptionist buzzed over the intercom. Dinner time, she trilled. The food had an intoxicating effect on Fat E. Did not tell you that food was a real addiction. I remember this hoe tried to tell me. She was like, if you ain't gonna suck dick on your knees in a back alley in the middle of the night for a piece of cake, then bitch, that's not an addiction. I said, oh yikes. I won't go there, but I will get up in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., with some pajama pants, house shoes, and a backwards wig to go to the gas station and buy a ho-ho. An hour later, the receptionist buzzed over the intercom. Dinner time, she trilled. The food had an intoxicating effect on Fat E. The more he devoured, he moved from lobster to crab legs to baked potato dripping with sour cream with the dexterity of a DJ. The giddier and more talkative he became. Even though he rapped about his slick girl getting abilities and his sexual prowess with such tricks, he admitted the ladies' man status was just part of his rap star image. His devoted wife, Renee, his angel, was the only woman he ever went home to. She'd loved him before the fame and riches. At Benjamin Franklin High, she was proud to walk the halls with her overweight Ernesto, even though he had ballooned to 280 pounds by the senior prom. That is Big Pun and his wife. You bitches cannot tell me otherwise. She wants to have a baby, he said, but I can't even knock her up. Something wrong with my sperm, he shrugged. We're going to a fertility doctor and everything. I definitely know they had kids, because remember when the wife, I forget her name, but remember when the wife had to literally sue Fat Joe for her husband's royalties? Fat cat. Keep trying, Fat, Mimi said supportively. She thinks it has to do with my weight. The doctor said it doesn't. He insisted. But she wants me to go on a diet anyway. She worried about me getting so big. She tries to feed me all this low-calorie food. You know what she taped on the fridge? He paused and cocked his head. This article with a big headline that says obesity kills. How effed up is that? Mimi smiled sympathetically. He sighed. I know she's probably right. He conceded, wiping his greasy palms with a paper towel. But goddamn, I'm Super Fat E. How I'm gonna get all skinny and still represent? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I hear you, Mimi said, feeling very comfortable with Fat E. But she only did that because she really cares. She's got your back. And that's why I love her, Fatty said. He slouched down in his chair and exhaled, having finished his seafood workout. So what about you? What about me? You got a man? Me? Nah. Yeah, well, I don't know if there are many suitable fellas in this crowd you're running with, little lady. Fat E mock lectured. Why? 'Cause ninjas in this industry is all about gaming. I ain't about games. I got my lady. She's been down with a ninja since times were rough. You heard? Mimi smiled, thinking, why I can't find a guy like Ernesto. Because, like if you don't find a good person like in high school or college, baby, good luck. That's all I can say. You missed the boat. It's all about timing a lot of times. And if your person is not met before a certain time, you're not gonna get that person. I mean, you'll get people, but you won't get that person. Mimi smiled, thinking, why can't I find a guy like Ernesto? But you wouldn't believe how many women throw themselves at this here swole up ninja, Fatty said, thoroughly amused. Even though they know I'm married, happily married. I don't understand females sometimes. I mean, why chase the ninja that every other chick wants? Why sign up for that kind of stress? I'm not saying you have to be with a lazy, broke mofo, but what's wrong with the average, hard-working brother who will take care of you and love you right? Your wife got both, Mimi quipped, but he'd posed a good question. Jamal had been a star quarterback in Toledo, and wasn't that what made him so attractive? That all the other girls had wanted him, and she'd had him for a while. You heard? Fat E exclaimed, jumping up from his chair. Mimi was so startled that she almost slipped off hers. He scooped her up in his arms like he was about to do curls, and she was the barbell. But I'm one of a kind, baby. As she giggled, he carried her back to the studio singing. Back to work we go, to the beat of Chapel of Love. After laying down his lyrics, Fat E was beyond tired and wanted to jet, but he stayed to encourage Mimi as she supplied her vocal contribution. On her ninth take, after singing the lines Daryl had written, Mimi warbled some of her own creation. She'd been listening to Fat E rapping all night, and she had some complimentary lyrics rattling around her head. Y'all, that's one of the Frenchies snoring, my bad. Sorry, y'all. As soon as Daryl heard the unfamiliar words, he cut the music. What was that? His voice sounded loud and disapproving in her headphones. I don't know, Mimi said in her most apologetic voice. It just came out that way. Get out here, Daryl shouted, and Mimi removed the headphones and walked out of the recording booth into the main studio room. Before Daryl could yell, she said, I just thought we could try it. Don't think, sing. Daryl snapped as Fat E wheezed half asleep. Don't think, don't think, sing, Daryl snapped as Fat E wheezed half asleep on the couch. Hey, Ivan, maybe you should print that up. Hey, Ivan, maybe you should print that up on one of your signs and put it in the booth. Daryl snickered to Ivan. Don't think, sing, just as a reminder. I don't like it your way, Mimi said boldly. This wasn't her song, so she probably shouldn't be trying to rewrite the lyrics. But this wasn't about the song. Daryl was trying to humiliate her. Lena's kill him with kindness strategy hadn't gotten Mimi anywhere, and she was just about sick of his jacked up attitude. Nobody asked you, Daryl said. Nobody asked you, Daryl said. He said, nobody asked. Lulu. Now the baby's snoring. Fuck it down.